Welcome to episode 139 of Project Geekology today. Today we are extremely blue-pilled. Like, it's as blue-pilled as it gets today. We are watching Avatar 2009, the second to last most recent James Cameron film to grace our screens. Rich, this is the first time for you.
I basically went in completely blind, sir. Yes, I did. Guys, the last 2 months of podcasting has been the most awkward I think that I've ever done. I'm a knowledge guy, right? I'm a let me go over the material 17 times. Let me dive into all this extra stuff and let me come into the podcast and be ready that way. And these gentlemen, Anthony, we miss you. He's really, by the way, Anthony, as a quick update, he has killed 2 perfect black squirrel pelts. He has two perfect black squirrel pelts. I think he's got an American pronghorn, also full carcass. Yes, actually, he's on assignment this week. He is out hunting animals in real life Red Dead Redemption 2. He sent us an action shot, and I kid you not, it looked exactly like where I was hunting some beaver and some blue jays this week in Red Dead Redemption. So I hope he enjoys the milieu, but we do miss his presence on the show.
We miss you, Anthony. Just for those listeners out there who don't get the Red Dead Redemption 2 jokes, Anthony is not hunting. He's just away on vacation. He's in Tennessee at his family's home there. Have fun, Anthony. My name is Dakota, and I am joined with
Rich, who is I had no idea what I was getting into. I knew a little bit kind of the overall idea of the movie, but this should be fun because we may not have Anthony with us this week, guys, but we do have a third voice because my wife is a vociferous anti Avatar person. I've never met somebody actually who's had a more negative, visceral reaction to this movie. And I tried to watch it in secret, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm telling you that it did not happen. I actually paused it because the negativity was so intense. And then when I went to watch it the next day, my wife came back into the room and sat down and was like, "Oh, you're watching it?" So we're going to have like a little third voice creep in every once in a while, which is unsettling.
It's an unsettling voice for sure, but no, it's still pleasant to have different opinions about the topic at hand. As we found with Project Ecology, a third voice is usually kind of fun because it usually means that 2 out of 3 of the hosts or the voices rather are in sync, and the other one is just like, actually, this sucks. and this is why. No, so this will be good. Yeah, so before we jump into any of our Avatar discussion, and Rich, I gave you a little bit of homework today. I gave you the Avatar tie-in comics. And we'll talk about that a little bit along with the film. But before we jump into any of that, what have you been up to this past week?
I finally bit the bullet and I bought Oblivion, the remastered copy. So Oblivion is a game that this might be the 4th time I'm buying it or something crazy like that. So my friend recommended it to me. I bought it. I started playing it. I was enjoying it. I got into the Oblivion gates, and I'm not going to lie to you. I was downright terrified. I ran out. I called my friend and I said, "What is this thing I just walked into?" He's like, "Oh, those are the Oblivion gates." And I said, "I don't like that." He goes, "Well, it's going to be a big problem, bud, because you got to close a heck of a lot of them." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "How do you close them?" He's like, "You got to go into the towers." And I was like, "The towers?" And you know, like looking back on the footage and stuff, it's kind of ridiculous, but I was frightened. And,
it goes from like a peaceful fantasy, you know, like Western fantasy world to just hell, basically. And it's real quick, you know, something happens. It's only if you're following the main storyline. You could play the game for 50 hours and not experience a single Oblivion gate. But
that's what happened to me.
So you just got sucked in.
I just was like doing side stuff. And then you know, a week after I get the game is when I got into the gate and I freaked out. So I got rid of it. And then my friend came over and was like, dude, come on, what happened? And I was like, ah. So he brought his copy. So I tried the gates, and I was like, I felt a little bit better about it. I bought it again. And then I got overwhelmed. The world was too big for me, and I got scared again. So I sold it. Then the Game of the Year edition came out that had like all of the downloadable content. So I bought it. And then I finally did beat it. Sold it because, it was on an older system. And now I've bought it again. So I can't believe I'm here. I don't remember the quest so far. I do fondly. I mean, I was very happy to be welcomed back to the world of Tamriel and Oblivion, and specifically with the dulcet tones of Patrick Stewart. And it was really cool because my wife actually walked in and she sat down, and I mean, we watch a lot of stuff with Patrick Stewart, I'm not going to lie. So, but she was like, oh, Patrick Stewart. And I was like, yeah. I was like, this is a good game. And it's, the graphic upgrade is amazing. And to be honest with you, so far, I haven't noticed any, he runs kind of a little bit of a doofy run. I am upset about the lack of, I'm very particular. You guys obviously don't know this because you don't see me, but I have mutton chops. I have mutton chops styled after Wolverine. When the Wolverine came out, it was a summer movie. I believe it was a July or August release. I went to the bathroom. I was feeling kind of randy, and I shaved my beard into a Wolverine, facial hair. And then I came out of the bathroom, and my wife said, that looks way better than your beard. And it was locked in from there. So I am very particular. I really do want mutton chops in every video game. And I'm very upset when they're not there, especially when it's like a fantasy game, because I feel like fantasy games tend to lead themselves to kind of ridiculous beard ensembles. So that's the only thing that upset me. The character creation, I wish they would have done a little bit with it. I mean, it's still great for its time, but, and you realize also that, like, it was really cool to ride a horse that first time, but now that I play Red Dead, you're riding this horse, and I mean, they're trying with the sound effects, but man, sometimes you're just like, wow. I mean, what is that? Is that like a potted plant? Like one of those ceramic plants, just like hitting like a table, like, because that's not a hoof on brick.
Right. Yeah, interesting.
So you can tell like little things like that, but. The third person works fairly well. There's a little janky thing where if you're in third person, when you walk into a new area, like the camera is kind of seeing through your chest slightly. So you're kind of slightly opaque, but not. So that's just one complaint I have about it. I'm only about probably 10 or so hours. I do fondly recall raising my agility by just jumping everywhere. And I've continued to do that. So they did make some tweaks also with the leveling system that makes it a little bit easier, and they since release have added also a new difficulty level called Journeyman between Adept and Apprentice, I think. But basically they added a different level because some people felt the gap was too big. So so far I'm not complaining about difficulty level. I'm at that age where honestly I like to play things on easy and just enjoy the story.
Just enjoy it, man. That's it.
Yeah, so I got this game Invincible from the PlayStation Store, and it's pretty good. It's you're basically on this deserted planet, and you have to figure out why you're separated from your team. It's categorized. I'm gonna look it up right now. It's adventure mystery, and it's pretty cool. Like you're just kind of wandering around, and there's like you can sprint a little bit and stuff, but it's really just point and click. But I think they did a really great job of pointing and clicking. Like you're limited. You're very limited. You can't just climb any ledge, for example. You have to go to the ledge that's proportioned for you to be able to climb. Things like that.
Sure. Okay.
So it's a really simple game. Like in terms of gigabytes, it's like 12 gigabytes. So it's like really, but the graphics are like shockingly good for such a, minimalist game. There's like these like lore flashbacks and stuff. So definitely a game that I would recommend checking out right now. It seems to be low cost. Like I said, running on the Unreal Engine. I think it's actually, I don't know what the story is yet. I mean, I can tell that there are conversations I'm having that might lead one way or another, but it says that you'll face these decisions that will shape the outcome of the story. Whether it really does or not, I'm not there yet, but it's a little haunting. There's you kind of encounter members of your team and you don't know what's going on with them, so I'm kind of excited.
Nice. That's awesome. I didn't know. I don't think I've heard of Invincible, so I have to look it up. But yeah, that sounds
What have you been
cool.
up to?
I have been just working a lot, but while I have been working, I finished the audio drama, or sorry, the audio book of the novelization of Alien Isolation, which is the sequel to Alien with Ripley's daughter, and how
Hmm.
she kind of encounters. She's in search of Ripley. You know, like she hears that there's news about the Nostromo. Like someone found like the flight recorder, so she's off on an adventure, like trying to figure out what happened to her mother. And of course, xenomorphs show up, so that's really cool. I've gotten to the point where like I'm really excited to dive into some of the tie-in novels and audio dramas that have been created since Titan Books like took over the publishing, and I think there's like 10 or 11. So I'm gonna start, just listening to those when I get the opportunity. And I started with the first one, Out of the Shadows, which is interesting. Yeah, I don't have like any like positives or negatives about it yet, but I'm maybe like a quarter of the way through. Just enjoying some more Alien content while I can. It's in terms of tie-in stuff. It probably, yeah. So like Star Wars, they rebooted their timeline around 2014, and Alien, while it didn't reboot its timeline, it started publishing under a new publisher in around 2014. So people kind of take that as like the current canon of the tie-in material. But Star Wars has like 10 times the
I
amount
don't.
of
Let's
books in the same time period.
let's not discuss how furious I am because I was a full Legends bro. I'm telling. There's no.
Okay,
You
all
may
right.
not meet a person who knew more about the Legends like that. The period they erased, all right, is maybe the period of Star Wars that I may have known the most about. Let's just put it this way: I had a car called the Lady Luck, and some of you out there might be saying, "What's that? What's that, Rich? I've never heard of the Lady Luck." And I'll tell you what the Lady Luck is. It was the ship that Lando owned that is not canon anymore. It was a luxury cruise line. And I had a Lincoln Town Car, a luxury car. And it was, of course, in 1997. But still, I got a little version of the Lady Luck that I found on eBay because I think Hasbro made this actual ship. And now, with one fell swoop, Eisner just said no. No, Bob Iger said no. I don't want it
It was
anymore.
Iger, yeah.
That jerk.
That
Sorry,
jerk.
sorry. I get
Wow.
upset.
Bob Iger did make some, good decisions, I will say, in his tenure. One of them being to buy 20th Century Fox.
Well, yeah. Book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett. Clearly,
Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan
show.
Kenobi is, yeah, it's the
Top
pinnacle
5
of
MCU
Bob
guy stuff.
Iger's. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Avatar was part of that 20th Century Fox deal.
How did you do that? That's amazing. You brought it back to the topic at hand.
I'm really good at this, my dude. Been doing it a long time. But before Disney bought, Fox and X-Men and Fantastic Four, which didn't do very well at the box office, and Avatar, which did do very well at the box office, they, Fox made the right call by, betting on James Cameron and made the biggest movie of all time. It's legit the biggest movie of all time.
One could say it's Titanic.
It is Titanic. It is bigger than Titanic somehow. Yeah, no, it's never bet against James Cameron, which is very exciting because he's coming out with his third Avatar movie later this year, which we will be covering on the podcast as soon as we get the opportunity. And I'm very excited. I think I saw the second movie like 5 times in theaters. I don't know how you felt about this, Rich. I have no idea whether you liked this movie or didn't like this movie. The second movie is levels of magnitude different, like better in my opinion.
I've heard this. I will say I don't have super strong feelings in either direction. I'm like, I ended the movie and I said, "Oh, that was fun." Like I enjoyed it. But I have heard scuttlebutt. I can't, obviously I'm not allowed the embargo that is placed on me. So it's almost like I get charged a tariff if I go ahead and engage in any material past what we're watching. So
Yeah, Rich was very perturbed the past couple months as we were covering the Alien movies, as you know he wasn't allowed to skip ahead and watch the movies in advance. And there's 7 movies, and there's the TV show that we covered. And I personally, and I think Anthony agrees on this, made the show better because nobody's jumping ahead and saying, well, in this movie it's going to be even better than this movie because of this. And I realize the irony of me saying that as I'm saying The Way of Water is like going to be the discussion that's more fun. But let's talk about Avatar. So Bob Iger, even before he bought 20th Century Fox, greenlit a Avatar themed land in Disney's Animal Kingdom in Orlando, and it's like one of my favorite places in like a theme park. It's got the floating mountains. It's got like the ground glows when you walk around it. It does not have a home tree. There's a ride where you visit the home tree.
Can I tie my hair to it?
Yeah. No. Unfortunately, no. You can't like make Sahelu with the home tree. Yeah. But we'll discuss all that. So let's jump into just the bare bones of this story. What did you think of the concept of the Avatar program? The Avatar program being these individuals, scientists, and now a Marine who are sent over to this faraway moon called Pandora that, you know, orbits a gas giant, and are put into the bodies, like lab grown bodies of the indigenous population to better connect with that population. What are your thoughts on just that concept?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of science that we are skipped out on and just kind of asked to accept, which is fine. You know, I'm for that overall. Obviously, like, it works into the plot a number of times, and I know that some of it's like when they get kind of like rudely ripped out of their Navi bodies.
Yeah.
But just like the like, you know, it feels like they should be going back to some sort of like place to like unplug, you know, it's a little bit safer at times, and that seemed like a design flaw overall, because like, if you're trying to integrate, you know, and like be normal, and then like you're like the body just goes lifeless, it's a little bit and again, maybe I'm not giving Cameron the benefit of the doubt, and you know, he worked that in as a design flaw of it, so that there was obviously not plot holes, but opportunities in the plot to capitalize on that and create more dissension between the two groups. But I okay, look, it's way easier to accept this science, right? And just like say, fine, it's what I'm going to accept when suddenly freaking Riley shows up on my screen. You did this on purpose, all right? I had no prior real knowledge, okay? Other than this is a movie with the blue people, okay? That's what I knew. And suddenly, after watching Alien for damn near 2 months, yes, I cussed on the show, damn near 2 months, you have me sit down and Sigourney Weaver pops on my screen. So I went, all right, I accept anything. Like, I've accepted it before with my boy Ridley Scott, and I'm going to accept it now.
Love it, man. Oh, man. Yeah. Question. I know that you said that you might rewatch this one or watch it 3 times. Did you ever get around to watching it a second time?
2 times.
2
Unfortunately,
times.
the names still did not. You know,
They didn't stick with me. I got you. I think by the time I think the second film does a better job of making you feel like you know the characters in and out. But so for, you know, it's understandable you don't understand, or you don't know most of the names. You know Grace Augustine, played by Sigourney Weaver, as you know, the older professor lady who's kind of cranky at the beginning but becomes a begrudging ally along the story.
So like, it's such an archetype. I mean, I accept it and I love it, but it's such the archetype, right? Like, you'll never fit in with one of us. Like, why would you give me that guy? And then
I know, I love it. And that's one thing that's like great about James Cameron, is that he will take tropes, he will take character archetypes, and he'll make something completely new with it. And I think that that's a really fun part about Cameron's whole filmmaking style. But yeah, so you have Grace Augustine, who has been a part of this Avatar program for a while now. We have Jake Sully, or as the natives like to call him, Jake Sully. They like compress his name into one word, Jake Sully, who is the twin brother of a guy who was totally preparing to, go to this world for like 5 years, but like died like a week beforehand. And he just happens to share the genetic like DNA of his twin brother.
Stupid.
Enough.
So stupid. I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
It is dumb.
I
that's
accepted
probably
it, but I was just like, this is so stupid. I mean,
it also it does it's the one thing in this movie that doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of it, because it just looks so normal. Like the first like minute of the movie where they're like in a morgue and it's just like guys in corporate suits and a guy in a wheelchair looking at a dead body in a cardboard box, and it's like, wait a minute, the rest of the movie looks so fantastic. You guys couldn't reshoot this scene.
It doesn't make a lot of like. It's almost like you just gotta roll with the punches at the beginning. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. Yeah, no, I get it. So then you have Neytiri, who is the daughter of basically the clan chief and the clan shaman. We have Etukan, who is the Oloektan or leader of the Omatikaya clan. There's like different clans of the Na'vi, and this is like the main one that Jake Sully joins in his journey. You have Neytiri, the daughter of Etukan, the leader. She's also the daughter of Moat, the basically like the village shaman, like the one that's there to cleanse people and all that, the spiritual leader. Na'vi term for that is Sahik. So we got the Oloektan leader and the Sahik, the spiritual leader. Neytiri is their daughter. Sorry, I'm beating a dead horse at this point.
No, I see you.
Nati Kamaya. Yeah, that's I see you. I like that. Yeah, no, it's good. I think let's talk about that. There's some phrases in this movie that kind of stick out as being unique in terms of how one communicates with another. It's almost like saying, I respect you, or I understand where you're coming from, and I think I see you can have a lot of meaning. It could be like, I love you. It could be, I understand you, I respect you, or anything in between that, and I think that's part of why it's such a cool turn of phrase. And it becomes even into the second movie, there's a scene in the second movie where like one of the characters says, I see you. And it's one of those scenes that like actually brings me to tears. I'm not gonna lie, like second movie, I watch it to feel something. Like I genuinely watch the second movie to feel something.
It's almost like talking about one movie becomes that much more enjoyable when you talk about like a movie around it.
I see where this is going. Rich, here's the thing. I'm capable of separating this title and this title. They don't merge for me. They're not the same thing.
You just wait 10 years, all right?
I know. God, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so you mentioned that it seems like a design flaw that the avatars don't have a place where they kind of like log off, but they do actually. At the beginning of the like one of the first, I think it's the first night of Jake in his avatar, they go to like a bunker. Like all the avatars go to a bunker, and he's looking at his his little tail thing, and he's just like, this is weird. And Grace is like, don't play with that, you'll go blind. It's funny.
Yeah,
I know. But okay, so he's supposed to end up there, but the day that he goes out with them and is chased by that beast and eventually found by Neytiri and the Omatikaya people, that obviously like goes out the window because he's now kind of infiltrated their camp.
All right, yeah. Now that's coming back to me. That makes more sense now. So, all right. So like I mean, I get
It's a very
because
convoluted
like
story,
they're
and it's a long
the
movie
thing is
too.
like
Like there's a
if
lot that
they don't
happens.
if they've acknowledged to like the Navi know that they're I'm sorry, what is it? It's not. Is it dreamwalkers? What do they call them? Is it? I want to say it's. I think it's dreamwalkers or something. What do they call?
Yeah. So the Navi call them
Yeah.
Dreamwalkers.
So like they call them they're dreamwalkers. So they already know them. Like I don't know. I guess like I part of me is like, wouldn't you want to be more undercover? But it's like
Um,
were they just past that point in their interactions, like where they wanted to reveal themselves?
yeah. So I mean, you read at least one. You read a couple of the comics that I
Yeah,
sent
like
you.
I know that.
The first was Adapt or Die. I mean, that's not the first one that came out, in release order, but like that's the earliest in the timeline that we have story wise of those comics. So Adapt or Die follows like 12 years before the events of Avatar, and it's about how Grace Augustine convinces the Omatikaya people to start a school so that they can teach the children the ways of the sky people, and the children could teach the humans how the Omatikaya live. Basically, it's kind of a bridging of things. We never see the school
Uh-huh.
in either this movie or in the comic book. At some point between those two events, the school actually gets shot up
Oh, okay.
um, by some of the like RDA, the humans. They tried to like I guess there was kind of like a rebellion within some of the kids of the Omatikaya at that point. The RDA show up and they kill a couple of the kids basically, and that is part of why there's such a huge tension between the Dreamwalkers and the Omatikaya people at the beginning of this movie, and that's why they allowed Jake Sully to show up, where the others they are like apprehensive because they haven't seen a Dreamwalker who has been a warrior before this. They've all been scientists, whatever. So that's part of it. And in the second book that you read, I believe it's Sute's
Yeah,
Path or Sute's
yeah.
Journey.
Path.
Yeah, he goes to the Tree of Souls, or the Tree of Voices, and he connects to it, and he sees he sees Silwanen, which is Neytiri's sister, Neytiri's older sister, who died in that school shooting, basically. So his true love was Neytiri's older sister. So that's part of this whole convoluted thing. I know, and you guys listening at home are just like, huh? But yeah. So let's talk about the story itself, because a lot of people, they like to I guess boil it down to it's Pocahontas in space, or it's Dances with Wolves,
Mm-hmm.
or this or that. And yeah, there are a lot of stories that kind of fall into this category of advanced civilization visits a native people and learn that what they're doing is wrong. There's a bunch of stories that fall into that path. How do you feel about Jake Sully as a character coming into this world, where he starts and where he ends?
Well, okay. It was predictable, right? I mean, I because of that, like
The trope, yeah.
like it is kind of like Pocahontas-y. It feels like his kind of movement or his growth or character development from the beginning to the end does seem a little sped up, for lack of a better word, right? Like you kind of don't really know who this guy was too much, other than that he was a jarhead, and now he just he
Jarhead clan.
takes so incredibly quickly to everything. Like he's great at controlling the body and being in there.
Right,
That he's
yeah.
so good at everything. Like he's a jarhead who learns language incredibly quickly. He's a military guy who very early on demonstrates that he's willing to break military protocol. Like he breaks the chain of command essentially, and thinks for himself, which I don't know if this is going to be offensive, right? But I don't think that I think when you think of the armed forces, right, when you think of a soldier, you think of somebody who takes orders, and he,
Yeah.
granted, there was a reason for it, but I do sometimes feel like, that's another kind of thing where you can kind of, where the soldier type quickly becomes, or very easily becomes, disillusioned with those in command. It's almost like this is one of those weird instances where I think many times I've said I wish this was a movie instead of a TV show when we were talking about something, and in this case it's like I actually wish this was a TV show instead of a movie. Like, I wish this was like 12 episodes so you could more see Sully.
Oh, you could see his arc,
because he's a military
action,
dude.
basically.
He goes from being a soldier to now questioning what high command tells him.
So, I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, even though I don't really know Sully's backstory too well from when he was on Earth. But presuming he was a veteran who lost his legs in the war, whatever war it was. Oh, I think they say it's Venezuela. They call it some mean bush. I forgot about that. Yeah. So he was in Venezuela. He lost the use of his legs and has been on Earth who knows how long since then, His legs are extremely atrophied as opposed to the rest of his body, so it's been a while. It seems like he has had enough time to be away from military command to start to resent it a little bit. And by the time that he shows up to, that first briefing, when he first arrives on Pandora, he's almost blasé about it. He's almost like good old military briefing, or, like it's something that he's experienced before. So he's been around the block. So that's how I kind of take it, or at least that part of him, like his willingness to break military command, whatever. Yeah, I think he was still at the beginning, still very much, a military guy and willing to have the second chance, to do something right by his, commanding officers, whatever. But this definitely broke him. Just being with the Na'vi and, experiencing life outside of the confines of, like, the mechanical world that they live in, I think really, gave him new meaning to life, What did you think of the villain, Quaritch? So we have a couple villains, and I really like the names that they give these characters, because I don't think they're real names in real life. So we have Selfridge, who is the selfish guy.
Just come on.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's very James Cameron. And then you have what's the other guy's name? Miles Quaritch. And it's almost like he's got a quarrel with everyone. Yeah. So
ridiculous.
Yeah. But I really like Quaritch as a villain. Like, I don't like him as a character, obviously. He's a jerk, but he's so deliciously evil, and he's a badass. Like, he goes outside when, like, without a mask, and he'll just be like gunning down, not even thinking about the fact that he can't breathe the air. He's just so focused on his task. I love him. I love Quaritch so much. It's actually a huge shame that he doesn't make it to the second movie, because I would have loved to see him again.
Yeah, I know he's really good. I mean, I like the other guy. The actor is Giovanni Ribisi. He just is. I've seen him in other roles. He plays the kind of entitled, power hungry, like, jerk very well, right? Like, I just think that he's small in stature, but he will not be bossed around, and even when he's wrong, he just kind of sticks by his intuition, and I just think that he was really good. I found him to be,
and his intuition is just money. Like, what are the What are the shareholders going to think? If we don't bring this tree down, what are the shareholders going to think, guys? Come on.
Do we ever get
I love
get the name of the company?
the RDA.
Oh, okay.
I forget what. Yeah, I don't know if the R and the D and the A has like a meaning. I'm sure it does. I don't know it. But yeah, so it's the RDA. It's like resource development.
It's not Weyland-Yutani, is it?
It's not Weyland-Yutani. You can't connect these universes. You can't just connect.
All right. So let me ask you. I'm going to pose a question to you.
Listening.
They're humanoids.
Yeah.
I'm going to make things a little weird. But see, so it's like Jake Sully falls in love with Neytiri.
A big woman.
And I don't know, man. Like, am I the only one who's like, I don't know if I could fall in love with an alien race that quick. Like, I'm all about connection, Like, maybe if she got jokes, He's a huge fan of the A-Team, played Skyrim or something, But on a practical level, I'm just like, I don't know about this. He really dives in, with reckless abandon, and in a way that I'm not. Hey, Jake Sully, how do you know you can use your alien body? Like, I don't know. Like, how do you know all these things? Like, how do it's there's there's that to me is a little bit odd, and even Suye handing the title over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in that comic, but we do know that it happens in the movie, and I think that's my overall kind of biggest complaint about this movie, and maybe it'll be rectified with the rest of the franchise, right? But for them to accept him as their kind of almost unquestioned leader type, when he's an outsider, where he has the issue that, his body can be shut off, right? Like I said, over a series. Yeah. But Luke doesn't become the head of the Jedi Order, in one movie. I don't know. Like, even
right.
Anakin doesn't get trusted,
So we know this movie takes place over about 100 days.
Now I'm going to be 1,000% honest. Did not pick up on that. So that does help me now, because I assumed this to be over just a couple, not that many days. I don't know why
Okay. So you can follow the video chats that he creates. It'll say recording number blank on this date, recording number blank on this date.
So you're like a guy who tracked. You kind of like made an effort to make sure that you tracked the time of this movie, the timeline.
I have a timeline for this film written down. I know exactly to the day when every event
is there
takes
like a
place.
Place that people listening could maybe investigate this kind of timeline?
If you go to Geek Critique, GeekRitiquue on YouTube, yeah, you'll find a couple Avatar videos. One is a complete Avatar timeline between the first and second films. It came out a couple years ago. It's probably a little outdated now because there's a video game out as well now. There's a couple more comics out now, and there's about to be a third film. And then there's a video where I talk about everything that happened in the 15 years between the first and second movies. So yes, spoiler rich, there's a 15-year gap between the first and second movies.
Do you think Deck Lopez over here, Deck Lopez, told me that I should go check that out before we watch this? No. He didn't give me this. All right. No. So, at the 100 days, I'm not going to lie to you, that does make a difference. Like, it's still, a little less than I think I would want, but I can accept it.
I hear you. I see you, Rich. I definitely see you on this. Yeah, no, it has that second act structure where it just kind of, it becomes a big montage sequence of like, hey, I'm getting to know the clan. They're starting to trust me. I'm allowed to fly on one of their things now. They're making me one of the people tomorrow. It becomes one of those, Rocky montages where, eventually he's ready for battle when he needs to be ready for battle, basically. But I do think, yeah, you're right. He is a bit of a Marty Stu You know, it's the gender flipped Mary Sue, where the character just seems to have a knack for everything that they put their mind to. That's not to say that he doesn't try and he doesn't, you know, make mistakes and he doesn't start things at a place of awkwardness. But I think it's his willpower. The character Jake Sully, I think he just has the willpower to prove himself because he couldn't in his human form prove himself anymore. So I think that's part of it. You know, I think there's also probably a level of not caring if he died. You know, so like I think, you know, if you're just in a second body and suddenly you're like 10 times stronger and 3 times faster and, you know, you could do whatever you want in that body. Yeah. And he kind of has that like power hungry, you know, vibe at the beginning of the film when he first enters his avatar suit and, you know, he just runs out into Pandora straight to Grace Augustine, who throws him a fruit that happens to be so juicy. He bites into that thing, juice flowing everywhere. Guys,
you know, this look, I'm actually having a this is our unofficial sponsor today is Beer Monkey, and it's got lots of
Berry Monkey.
Berry,
it's Berry Monkey.
I can't read. I'm an English teacher. Berry Monkey, lots of raspberries, lots of juicy things here.
Oh my gosh, 9.5%. Yeah, okay. That's why you can't read, Rich. That's why you can't read. Yeah, so, you know, just as Jake Sully bit into that extremely juicy fruit, please be sure to give us a juicy 5-star review wherever you're listening to this podcast, because it does help us out. It helps more people get to know the podcast. And, you know, we're juicy. We hope you guys are juicy as well. You know, stay juicy, my friends. But let's talk about the connection that Jake Sully has to Neytiri. What did you... Was it kind of a natural... I mean, imagine that this isn't just like an alien girl. It is an alien girl. But obviously, like, you're thrust into this world. They are actual human beings. It's not like you're with a race of animals or anything. They are humanoid personages that have emotions, levels of understanding equivalent to humans, and so on and so forth. And decent figures. They're all in fantastic shape.
I just want one like really overweight Navi, like just like one.
I would love to
like,
see that. I would love to see
that. Just like sipping like some fermented fruit juice, you know, like getting a little tipsy.
I wish I could tell you, Rich. I wish I could tell you that in the next film there is a fat
like
Navi
just swinging
somewhere.
in a vine that snaps because they're too fat, you know.
I would love that, but I think these guys have incredible metabolisms. I think they're so large that they're probably eating at a calorie deficit as it is. So
you know what the problem is?
I don't know.
You know what they don't have on their menu? They don't have meat on their menu. All right, that's the problem.
I think they got meat on the menu. Maybe I don't know.
This new movie with the fire. Maybe the fire allows them to cook the meat.
Perhaps. So yeah, what did you think of the Neytiri and Jake connection? Did you said that was probably the weirder part for you?
Yeah, I mean, it gives me like it actually gives me Dirty Dancing vibes. You know, where like baby's not supposed to want to hang out with. I can't believe I don't remember his name right now. Just but Swayze, right? And then you know she's not supposed to fall in love with him, but despite all odds and his rough way about him, she does, you know. And it's similar here. It's the forbidden fruit kind of like romance, right? It's typical to these stories. I know that you want to have romance in these big stories, but like, you know, we've talked about, you know, in The Hobbit where there's that fake romance with Keely, I think it is, and the made up elf that they put in the movie, Evangeline Lilly, you know, and I feel like it happens. I mean, I was surprised. I was shocked when I watched the sequel Star Wars movies. I don't know. I was shocked when Kylo Ren and Rey kissed. My jaw. I was like, "What are they doing?" I was like, "That they didn't that was just a Jedi connection. Like, that's not sexual. Like, what are you doing? You know, that's like if like Mace Windu and Luke Skywalker just started making out, which would have been weird because Mace is dead. But still, like it's just like I get it. You have to include the romance angle, but I don't like it. Okay. I like both characters, and I guess ostensibly I'm like okay with like her being happy, right? But like it's too much. Like if she hadn't been promised essentially to, I'm gonna say his name wrong again,
Sute,
right? Right, because it's like the implication is that because also the creepy implication that like since her sister died, now she has to be with him, which is I'll leave that alone because I'm just gonna chalk that up to like native stuff, and we're gonna leave it there, and I'm not gonna further analyze that. But the fact that she then has to kind of step into that role, and then she's promised to him, and then he loses the respect, or he essentially gives his mantle over to this outsider who then she also loved. Like he gets everything, right? Like Jake Sully gets everything, right? And I wish she hadn't been promised to Sute. I wish that she was just another Na'vi who did happen to fall in love with him and didn't have the role, because she's also the daughter, right, of Moat. Am I getting that name right?
Moat,
look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep.
Right? So
You did it.
It's like the atypical, like she's an important member of the tribe who falls in love. And I wish he would have deviated. Like if she's an unimportant member of, not an unimportant member, right? But like not a high standing member of the tribe. I don't know. It kind of makes more sense. I understand that like by falling in by her being the one, then more people might believe in him and stuff. I get all those. It's very formulaic, and I think that's like sometimes the movie got so formulaic that I was like, ugh. Like I still liked it, and it still looks really nice, right? But I think that's why I've heard the scuttlebutt of like the second movie expanding more, right? Or like being
it's not that story at all. It's not Pocahontas at all in the second one. So it completely, that is old news. The second movie is 15 years later.
And they have to do this, right? Like they have to do this movie. Like it's almost like as much as I'm complaining, there's no way around it. You're making a new world. You're doing one movie. You don't know.
And realistically, how would humans react? Or why would humans go to another planet? First of all, it would be for resources or for a new place to live.
Do you think
resources or colonization? And what would they do to the native people there? They would do exactly what the RDA are doing. Like that's just human nature. So it's what
I have a question.
You're giving me a face.
Well, two questions.
Tell me.
Question number one.
Yeah.
Unobtanium? Did he have
a
baby? Did he have a baby in the room? Like, well, it's like we can't obtain it on Earth. It's almost unobtainable. Oh, unobtanium? Like, what? What was the motivation for that?
Yeah.
And like, do you think that unobtanium is used to make the perfect birthstone? Because as you know, all Earthlings value birthstones above all else. And when you're born, and the birthstone you get matters. But what if we leveled the playing field and just made the best?
Everybody gets unobtanium. Yeah, everybody gets unobtanium as their birthstone. I love it. So unobtanium is the stone basically that helps the floating mountains float. Like that's what that is. Like, so I don't know the practical values besides like in transportation and stuff that it would have on Earth. But yeah, that's kind of one of those things that you just have to roll your eyes over. And I don't even think they say it in the second one. Like they just kind of get rid of that plot line in the second one. There is monetary value in the world of Pandora, but it isn't solely on unobtanium.
Anything else would have been fine.
Yeah,
anything would have worked. And it's just like he's been making movies for so long. It had to be a troll job. Like I feel like he knew.
He probably had fun. Yeah, he probably had fun with that. Like it seemed like something that like even he with his corny one-liners realized like this is either going to make people laugh or make people upset. Because nobody rolls. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who's just like, yeah, it's just unobtanium, like, yeah. No, that's an actual criticism. Yeah, I that is valid criticism of this movie. Let's talk about something that you potentially did like. How did you feel about the visuals?
So I thought it would look fantastic. I mean, what kind of stinks about it is, what year did this come out?
This was 2009, so it was a year after Iron Man.
Like, I watch it now, and it's like, yeah, looks good, right? But also, it's like I just watched Rings of Power like an hour beforehand, where they pulled up to Numenor, and we've spoken at length on prior episodes. By the way, you guys can go back and check out those episodes that we did on Rings of Power if you look back in the feed. But
I hadn't considered that, podcasts you can visit retroactively. So this is actually news to me. But yeah, now that I think about it, you have 138 other podcasts you can, check out within our, history. Rich,
it's like the draw of this movie was go to the movies and see something that you've almost basically never seen, right? At home, that you can't see at home, and
right.
By no means am I opulent or garish in really any of the items that I own, but I do have this large TV now, and I watched it, and I feel like I got a very similar experience to what people must have gotten back then, but now it's not as impressive,
So I'm gonna stop you there, just because the major draw for this one was the 3D aspects to it.
Oh, really? Okay, it was so. Okay, so like the full goggle experience.
Not only did it look fantastic, but it was also filmed in a new 3D.
Did they have
way.
like the?
Or like
they didn't have any of those like moments where it's like, I'm gonna splash you. Like they didn't do that.
No. It was just fully immersive. Like it felt like you were in Pandora. That was what was so cool about it, and that's what made it like over 2 billion. Like
that must have been. How did I miss? That must have been so cool.
Same with the second one, The Way of Water.
Wait, really?
Part of the I'm guessing, yeah, 100%. Like these films are meant to be seen in 3D.
So does that change?
They look fantastic. It doesn't change the story. No, yeah, but like,
because that's a.
I will say that these films are meant to be seen in the biggest IMAX theater you can. I go to New Rock, and I go to that IMAX theater. And it's always in 3D, and it's an incredible experience.
Was as good as when I went to go see the Lord of the Rings movie, and then they moved us out of the IMAX and couldn't watch it because it restarted 3 times, and then we just left.
So actually, last time they re-released The Way of Water a couple weeks back, and I saw it with my brother-in-law, his girlfriend, and my wife, and we're all like looking through the glasses, and I'm just like, it's like hard to look at. I'm just like, what's going on? Apparently they gave us the wrong glasses. Like they gave us like the 4DX glasses, but they needed to give us the IMAX glasses. So a guy came in like, I'm so sorry, and gave everyone like, I was like, thank God it happened in like the first 2 minutes. Yeah. But yeah, part of the joy of this movie when it first came out was, you've had 3D gimmicks in the past. You've had them for decades. You've had them since the 80s, but this was something that was strictly filmed for 3D, so that's part of the actual experience. And you had 2D showings of this that still looked good. That you watched it on your screen at home, looked fantastic, or at least it did, for a 2009 film. But yeah, that is part of it that you can't really get at home unless you have like a crazy 3D setup. But like, I don't know, I've never even been to a house with a 3D setup. Like nobody gets into that. It's just not a niche that people pay for at home. But yeah, so that's part of it. But it is cool going back to this movie and seeing that like this looks really good. Like I think of like movies in my youth, like the early 2000s, like late 90s, that I thought, wow, this looks incredible. Like at the time I thought, oh man, Bug's Life looks great. Toy Story 2, wow, that's it really is like crazy. It feels so realistic. There was another. It was
I'm
like
so old. I'm gonna say
I think it was
Terminator 2.
a
Like that.
Terminator 2 actually still kind of holds up in weird ways.
The
Like it's
T-1000, like
weird.
it
The
was pretty smart.
T-1000, the
Yeah.
Abyss, the 1989 James Cameron movie, that still looks really good. But yeah, so for whatever reason, Avatar really holds up. Almost, it's like 16 years later at this point, and it still looks like super crisp. I'm looking. My the background is one of the characters from the film, Sute, completely digitally created character, and he's got that classic Sute scowl on, and he looks lifelike, dude. It's scary. Like I can see the bumps on his skin. Why this guy has bumps on his skin, I don't know.
You guys can't see it, but he almost looks better than Jack Lopez.
Yeah, actually, like he's more defined
crazy.
than the web camera that I have on my. It's quite bizarre. Anyway, yeah. So that's part of the experience of Avatar, is that it feels so real, and they did such a good job of bringing the world to life that it's just exciting to enter it and then re-enter it when you're revisiting it. But we're a little over an hour now into the podcast. Let's start wrapping this one up, unless you have more to say about anything in particular. Did you have any thoughts?
Well, Anthony, big surprise, since you couldn't make it this week. I'm not sure if you heard, but the World Series game on Monday night went 18 innings, and we're gonna go double duty, folks. We're going another hour, all right? We're going to double up. If baseball can do it, so can we. So buckle in. One more hour of discussion. Not really. That'd be wild, though. The graphics were really cool. I'm kind of kicking myself. I can't believe that I've somehow missed the 3D event of the century twice. So I'm actually excited to go see it in 3D. And I'm going to be very excited to hear my wife. I'm actually. Are we going to be discussing the? No, you guys already discussed it. So, just so I'm going to watch it, and at least.
No. We are. I'm instituting something on the podcast for next week. We are revisiting a title. That's the first time in Project Ecology that we've done that for an episode. So next week we are going to be covering The Way of Water. Even though I covered it with Anthony a couple years back, we're going to be doing The Way of Water next week. So Rich, you can give me all of your thoughts then. But I forget we have a third voice on this podcast, and we haven't really allowed it to speak. So your wife didn't.
No, I mean, so vociferous. So one of the reasons that I didn't see it is actually because she had seen it before I had, when we were together, and she was going off about how much she disliked it, how it was very white saviory, there's parts of me that, like, look, I would have been totally cool with like Jake Sully saving them, right? And then, but not having the position of kind of power that he has by the end, right? Like if he was just a contributor, right? Like it would have been totally fine, right? But just that the fact that they like handed the mantle over to him was, I think, it's definitely what triggered Lauren into just disliking it. And once she got that taste in her mouth, I don't think there was anything that the movie, like, I don't think there was any, although Jake Sully was able to but that he was able to win over the people again despite their doubts, that wasn't enough for her. She wasn't won over, and I see that point of view. And that's definitely like what I went into the movie with, that background kind of my wife strongly disliking.
Okay, so you were expecting something along those lines.
Yeah, so she right away was. I mean, she almost, it's crazy, kind of slightly encyclopedic like that. I was like, oh, here it comes, and I see her side to an extent. I get it, but I also don't think if I have to be honest, I generally try to not think so deeply when I go into fantasy worlds. I don't try to think about what role Theoden, what world leader Theoden would most be like. He's Franz Ferdinand-esque. Like, I don't know. Like I don't really generally make a lot of those parallels. And granted, like, look, it's tough, right? we learn about American history in one way, or colonialism overall in one way, right? And then we grow up and we find out so much of the negatives that maybe we weren't told as small children. And then you see this movie, which is very much that kind of story that we've heard, and as adults realized that it wasn't, as Rudyard Kipling would say, the white man's burden, quite so much, right? So I think there are just layers of that can easily trigger people into that.
And that it's been something that's like triggered people for decades at this point, but I think that's, and not to negate her viewpoint of it, because that's totally valid. We do learn about all the colonization efforts over the past couple centuries within just America alone, and you have to make that parallel, because that's the parallel that is being fronted to you. This is a bunch of American speaking, like everyone in this movie has an American accent. All the RDA white people have that American accent. They're coming to another world. They're trying to relocate people of another tribe. And Jake Sully is like part of them. He's infiltrating their colony so that he can tell them this message to get out. I think where this changes for me, because looking at it that way, you 100% have that, white savior story. Like you have a character coming in to save them from either themselves or from a greater threat. But usually in those instances, the savior saves them by means of their higher technology, or they're bringing their technology to bear on the quote unquote lesser population of indigenous people. So the difference for me in this one is that he's not bringing a whole bunch. He's not giving them a whole bunch of technology to defeat the humans. He's using the Na'vi. He's becoming Na'vi because he realizes what's right. So I think for me that is kind of the antithesis. Antithesis is the wrong word, but it's kind of like the anti of the trope that the film purports itself to be from the onset. You know what I'm trying to say?
I think the only issue is that the movie affords us and the characters the kind of conceit that Sully looks like them. Because if you do this and like he can't inhabit the Na'vi body, right? Like he's just like white Jake's. Obviously his body's broken and whatever. I'm just trying to say, like, if he looked different,
he couldn't do that in his own body. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think that's kind of like what allows it to kind of it does make it different, and in a almost unfair way, right? Like, because obviously if like John Smith could have looked more, I'm going to say Sue. I think I'm wrong, right? Or whatever.
I don't know. I forget
whatever.
Yeah, I forget.
But the idea is like, obviously when the outsider savior is able to assimilate so much because of appearance, I think that does slightly change it. And I think that I think you're right in the way that like it is hopefully trending in a different direction, because I think that once this is done, once this world building and establishing is done, then hopefully you can get to more interesting things, right? Because once you get past that kind of basic story that we've seen in so many different mediums before.
Yeah, so this next film that we're going to be covering next week, The Way of Water, is an entirely different beast in scope, in storyline, in character dynamics, and just about everything. The only thing that you really need to remember is the humans were kicked off of Pandora. They've been away for this whole time, all 15 years, blah, blah, blah. And how does life change in that time period for Jake Sully, Neytiri, the Omatikaya, and the Na'vi?
So this is like, this is when the Fire Nation comes and against the waterbenders.
Not yet. That would be movie 3.
I had to make
it's
one Avatar, the Nickelodeon cartoon show reference.
the Last Airbender. You have to make some connections. There is quite a bit of connections to Avatar and Avatar: The Last Airbender in terms of balance with nature and balance with the world and different nations fighting and the different. As soon as you get to the second movie where it's about becoming one with water or whatever, you start to like really make the connections of like, well, these people are like waterbending. They're not waterbending, but you know what I'm saying. What I will say to that, a lot of people will say that James Cameron took the idea of Avatar from The Last Airbender, which came out before this. But the reason Avatar: The Last Airbender didn't call itself Avatar, just plain Avatar, is because James Cameron had the copyright for the name Avatar since the mid 90s. Apparently he came up with this in a dream. He has early storyboards from like the early 90s of like the blue people that he saw in a dream. I promise you.
No, I believe you, but like, I just want to be clear, all right? I don't think that just because some guy takes some edibles in the late 90s and wakes up in the middle of the night and writes something down, like, do you know how much stuff I would have had copyrighted, sir? All right? Like, this is like...
But you're not a filmmaker, my dude.
So that's and also the fact that Avatar is like a word, right? Like that's it is a word. It's not like a proprietary name, right? It's a word that means something that applies to both, right? Like stories. So that's the only thing that it's like Let's Get Ready to Rumble was also copyrighted. Oh, and I just want to speak up for Anthony. He just sent me a text, and he said to remind the listeners about how excited we all are that Ripley is going to be back in the next movie. Like I have a feeling that Ripley's going to be back. All right, like I don't think she's gone. You guys kept telling me she was gone, and she came back. So, based on everything that we talked about for the last 7 weeks, I know in my heart that Grace Augustine will be back. In the second movie. So all right, let's roll with your logic, because I want to obviously know nothing about the second movie, so I want to hear your rationale. She's still in the tree here. Like Swilanian. Yes, Sawana, right? Yeah. She's still in her spirit still inhabits the tree.
Okay, yeah. So her spirit lies with their ancestors. Okay, I see it.
There is a possible chance for rebirth in some way when Jake Sully needs it most. Maybe even if it's disembodied, like she can go full Obi-Wan, right? Like how you lied to me, Grace. She's like, well, it's from a certain point of view. I think
I like it. Okay. So all right. So your opinion is that Grace Augustine will return. Sigourney Weaver in some form will return for the second movie.
Yeah, Force Ghost.
Jedi Ghost. All right. Now, what about anyone else? Like who? Obviously, we talked about Jake Sully and we talked about Neytiri appearing in the second one. Do you have any ideas as to who else you would like to return?
Oof. Well, no. I think those are basically... Moan is still around. I can't...
Moed is still around. As far as the end of this movie,
but I think that this is the movie where you make new people, you make new characters, you build new relationships, you nestle us into that world 15 years in, and you...
I'm just so pissed off that they killed Quaritch.
He would have been fun.
He's the best villain.
He would have been, we've redoubled our troops. We requisitioned new items. This is the new weapon that we're gonna use against them.
I love it. I wish.
They commandeer the. I'm gonna call them pterodactyls because I'm a terrible human, but
You are, yeah. Yes. The Ikran. Oh, that would actually be cool if
we got
Quaritch
drones
and the Marines
and their Ikran,
Yeah, they call them Banshees. The humans call them Banshees.
One?
The Toruk. That would be fun. Okay. All right, let's bring this to a close. Next week we will be discussing The Way of Water. Rich, last thoughts on Avatar 2009.
If it was a Saturday or Sunday afternoon and I don't have a track meet and it's raining outside and I put this on TBS, I would watch it with commercials. It's a fun. That's
pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm not gonna go out of my. I'm not dancing on the rooftops or singing from the rooftops and telling everyone to watch it, but I didn't have at all a bad time watching it. I thought I didn't feel like it was a waste of my time at all. And from everything I've heard, I want to see what happens because I feel like this was a starting point. And I want to kind of, I mean, look, if you look at New Hope, right, you could say there are holes there, right? It's almost like New Hope gets stronger because of what comes after it. So I'm hoping that this is the same case.
Yeah. With Avatar and with all of James Cameron's stuff, one of the themes that you can find in every one of his movies is family. Whether, Terminator 1, you have Sarah Connor who she's pregnant with John Connor, like that's part of it. She's protecting that seed. Aliens, you have Ripley finding the young girl Newt and taking her on as her daughter. You have Terminator 2, you have the found family of John Connor and the T-1000, and also you have Sarah Connor in it. You can keep going. You have Fast and Furious.
Family, right?
Family, yeah. If only James Cameron directed any of those. Titanic, you have the the grandmother and I'm not gonna get into.
There was enough room for him on the board. He could have hung on.
There was. Let's. We're digressing. With Avatar, you have Jake Sully entering the Omatikaya as his family. And that only continues. And I think actually the next film is James Cameron's strongest family-oriented story. And I think that is probably the coolest thing about it, because just think to yourself, when was the last time you saw a nuclear family on screen be the focal point of a major blockbuster?
About a month and a half ago. It was called Fantastic Four: First Steps.
Nuclear family.
Oh, sorry. I feel like a jerk now.
No, I threw that word nuclear in there just because I knew Fantastic Four was going to come up. But I guess you could talk about Incredibles. Incredibles was, but that was a couple decades ago at this point. But anyway, we're running off course here. We're running out of steam. Thank you so much for listening to us here for our 139th episode. Avatar, as always, tops my MCU charts. Right up there at number 7, sometimes number 6.
6, 7, 6, 7?
7, 6. But yeah, no, I love this movie, but not as much as I love the next one. And I'm very excited to hear Rich's thoughts on some of the returning cast and everything. I'm so excited for you to watch the next movie. It is my favorite movie of the past decade.
Wow. Even more than Love and Thunder.
I would say it tops Love and Thunder.
Okay. I'm excited, guys, because I don't know if you guys know, that's his top movie. So
it's my top movie outside of Way of Water. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one. Stay juicy, my friends.
The Wolverine.